102 Days in Hell. Today, the story of a man, struggles, his family, and then redemption.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Good morning. It's Palm Sunday across the nation, and this is Restoring Hope Live here on XM Sirius and the American Family Radio Network. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Today, an incredible story. As I told you a few minutes ago, a man who spent 102 days in hell, or as we like to call it, the United States penal system. How he got there, what happened to him while in prison, and how he has been freed from the bonds and the chains of addiction. Of course, my co-hosts are in the house. Dr. Michael Hartwig, a Baptist pastor as well as a doctor of education. Mike, it's nice to see you.
Great to be here.
It's going to be a good show. You're going to like this. Right. And, of course, Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And what that means is if you are listening to this live, you can go onto our website at restoringhopelive.com and you can chat back and forth. Ask questions, make comments, and Bob is monitoring that. Bob is also an much sought-after legal expert in the world of alcohol addiction. His full-time job is a forensic scientist with the state here in our country, and is also on the National DMORT team, which means every time there is a disaster, such as 9/11, hurricanes, anything where there's a massive loss of life, Bob's job is to go in and identify those bodies and those pieces and those parts and get them back to where they belong. So, Bob, it's nice to have you here today, as well as everybody else. We're being produced visually by Maddie, auditorily by Eric, and I want you to meet my special guest, Anthony. And Anthony is here for the first time today. So, Anthony, we welcome you.
Thank you, Mac.
It's nice to have you here.
That's good to be here.
I have known of Anthony and his family for, I don't know, 10 years?
I've been here about 10 years. So.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
And like myself, Anthony had struggles with alcohol, and but now it's a different story, and we're going to hear about that story. Now, I'll warn you up front. The guy sitting to your right gets a little testy when we talk about the 12 steps.
Okay, all right.
But I got to tell you something, though. What you have done for me has been life-changing.
Really?
Because
I don't know if I can take credit for it, but let me hear what you have to say.
You get all the blame. You get all the blame. Because a couple months ago, we were going through the 12 steps, and the third step, of course, is turned our life and our will over to the care of God as we understand Him. And if you just noticed when I said, as you understand Him, fire and brimstone came from the eyes and ears and every orifice of Dr. Michael Hartwig's body. And I, like you, for almost 4 years, hated that statement.
Yeah.
As we understand Him. What do you mean, as you understand Him? There's one God. His Son's name is Jesus. He died for our sins. He was raised from the dead.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
But because of you kind of pushing back on that, I have a better understanding of why that step and why the originators of that step wrote it that way.
Right.
Because
I do too, by the way. I just still think, but I still think it's wrong. And I'm more convinced that it's wrong. But that's okay. It's a valuable program. And I'll say this. I refer people to the 12-step program if you can get over that one statement. And it's such a minor issue in so many people's lives. I think we're making too big of a deal out of something that doesn't really need to be made a big deal of. But from a Baptist or from a conservative, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life person,
Correct.
I think it's a great program.
Yeah. Well, you have created the first new Macism in many years.
What is that?
When this one goes on the card, and if you go to my website, Mac McCoy, MacMcKoy.com, just MacMcCoy.com, you'll see Macisms. The new Macism, thanks to Dr. Hartwig, is this. The only place salvation comes before sobriety is in the dictionary.
Okay.
And you get all the credit for that.
What does that have to do with the third point of...
Because your theme your thing is, and I don't want to quote you, but your thing is you should point them towards salvation, and then once they find
you're
Christ,
right. I don't want you to
sober.
quote me on that. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that it's not the God of your understanding. It doesn't count. What you need to do is be upfront, be courageous, and say it's about Jesus Christ, and not say it doesn't matter who you come to, and don't be ashamed of it.
Well, but okay.
Yeah, it's gonna go down a path that we want to hear.
We want to talk.
Anthony's
We want to
stories.
talk to Anthony.
Right.
But I just
That's an interesting conversation.
in a loving way. You're wrong. So
in a loving way, you're stubborn.
thanks. I resemble that remark. So Anthony, how old are you?
I am 37 as of March 30th.
And happy birthday.
Thanks.
And when was the first time you drank alcohol?
I was 16 years old.
And what prompted that investigation into the spirits?
You know, my friends and I just decided everybody had started drinking. You know, everybody's having a good time. So we went over to a friend's house for a sleepover, and I think we paid $20 for a 12-pack of beer, and
Somebody saw you coming.
we just kind of waited outside of the Casey's and looked for the guy with the longest hair. And
Seriously?
Yeah,
Kind of like that.
yeah.
All right. And so, do you remember how you felt that first time you drank?
Yes, and I'll never forget it. I mean, I just became a completely different person. It was this shy, timid kid became outspoken and fun to be around, and everybody was laughing at everything I was saying, and probably because they were drunk too. But it was still it's one of those eye-awakening experiences. Wow, this stuff is like liquid fun.
Yeah. Did you like the taste?
No, hated it.
Really?
Hated it.
Okay. Yeah. See, I was the same way. When I first drank, I just hated it.
No, my last drink I ever had, I hated it.
Really?
I never liked it.
So would you say that you are truly an alcoholic then, in that sense?
Well,
That your body needs the alcohol. It isn't social. It isn't how it tastes. It isn't yummy. It's your body craves alcohol.
No, my body, my mind craves alcohol.
Okay.
My body doesn't crave alcohol.
Okay. All right,
I never had any of those. I mean, I had hangovers and I had shakes, things like that. But my body never said, "Hey, it's 5 o'clock. We got to get some beer," unless it was a mental thing. It wasn't a physical reaction.
Yeah, that's a good point. I probably said that wrong.
No, I get what you're saying.
Meant the mind. Bob, how does that, in the mind of an alcoholic or someone who's allergic to alcohol or has the disease or whatever, is it usually a psychological thing that draws them back there, or does the body crave it like the body craves water or nourishment or air?
Well, let's say it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Because you can become psychologically addicted, and then there is also the physiological addiction. And so it depends on the...
And what you mean by that is the body, it's the cell structures actually desire that alcohol.
Yeah.
Versus your mind telling your body that it wants it.
Yeah. That those are the two different paths that people will consume drugs or alcohol or whatever that is. Even...
Can you tell the difference between a person that just desires it through their head or through their body? Can you tell the difference?
Well, it takes a professional that's working with detox to be able to determine that. They have to work with that person to determine what that is, and if it's a psychological versus physiological.
Yeah.
Psychologically, that they wouldn't get the shakes as bad, or is that when
Correct.
they start coming down? Right.
I always thought it was interesting because, I would start drinking at 4:35 in the afternoon, but if we had something to do in the evening,
Yeah.
I didn't crave it. My body didn't need it.
Right.
Boy, as soon as I got home.
So you were one of those head cases.
I was,
You were the head case.
in so many ways, Dr. Hartwig. Thank you. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear what Anthony's life was like, because we have a young man here who's really brilliant, very smart man, comes from really good genes, but alcohol grabbed him. And then he spent 102 days in hell. In fact, you've got a blog that we can direct people to later on. We want to do that. All right. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Live on XM Sirius and the American Family Radio Network, this is RestoringHopeLive.com.
restoring hope.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Addiction specialists are ready to take your call. Call now, 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
I always say that our stewardship doesn't start or end with our financial blessings. Listen to Genesis 1:28. Fill the earth, subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. God, for some reason, has given us some of His authority and expects us to manage or be good stewards and have responsibility for the environment and the other creatures that share this planet with us. God has entrusted us as stewards of it, and we must not be careless in how we manage it.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
It's about life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. It might be alcoholism. It might be an eating disorder. This is a Christ-centered program. And what we try to do on this program is give you an insight, a peek inside what that hurt, habit, and hang-up looks like to help you personally cope with it, or maybe to help you help the one you love cope with it.
Restoring Hope Live, every Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Brought to you by Transformations Treatment Center. Find out more at restoringhopelive.com.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. If you've ever failed to share your faith because you just didn't know what words to use, then carry the word with you.
We give out the Gospels to everyone we come in contact with. It's so encouraging to watch somebody actually open it and look through it. And then hopefully later, they can pull it out and read it.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
Our theme for this season at our street ministry was Bible Boot Camp. The Camel Gospels of John are perfect for the packages we will be passing out at our season end carnival. Thanks.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success Program, Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Learn more now at restoringhopelive.com.
Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
19 minutes after the hour on this gorgeous Palm Sunday, remember what we're here for. Remember, this is the greatest week for us Jesus freaks. This is what forget Christmas. I don't even like it anymore, okay? But this is the one. See, because if Jesus didn't die and then raise from the dead, we wouldn't be here talking about Jesus. He'd be just another smart aleck, another crazy guy that someplace in history said he was more important than anybody else, and that he knew God, and he had a relationship with him, and everybody went, oh, yeah. And the Romans were scared they were going to take over his government because he was from the lineage of David. And the Old Testament said, from the lineage of David would come the king. And when he said, destroy this temple, and I will rebuild it in 3 days, everybody laughed because they thought he was talking about bricks and mortar. But he was talking about salvation. And thanks to Jesus, you and I have it. And this week starts the holiest of Holy Weeks. Today, Palm Sunday, Monday, Thursday, on Thursday, Good Friday, which I've never understood why they called it good, but it's good. Friday, and then Easter celebrations all weekend. This is Restoring Hope Live, a Christ-centered radio program that talks about life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Our phone lines are open, 1-855-244-0077. That's toll-free nationwide if you'd like to call in and ask any questions to our guest today, which is Anthony Damrow. And Anthony is 37.
37.
And just got out of 102 days in hell. And we'll get to that in a minute, but let's go back. So, 16, you start drinking. When did drinking have consequences for you?
Drinking had consequences the first time when I was actually 17. I got underage consumption. We were at we call it the senior keg.
Okay.
Where all the seniors go out and bring a bunch of kegs that they get from the older classmen who have fake IDs. And cops came out and they cited me and everyone else who was underage for underage consumption, and everyone who was 18 got minor in possession, I believe.
Delinquency of a minor?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Big deal?
No.
What'd your mom say?
Slap on the wrist. I don't think she even knew.
No, you had to hit it from her. Nobody.
No,
cared.
I was living with my father at the time.
Okay.
I think he knew about it, but it was literally a traffic ticket.
Okay. And so life goes on. And what is your alcohol consumption like as life goes on?
It's bad. I was drinking from 18 to 25 pretty much every night.
Okay. To blackout?
No. That was still in my fun time. I'm still having fun drinking, but that's when the real consequences start setting in, the DUIs.
Okay, and drinking, you started with beer. Did it grow to tougher spirits?
No, not until I moved to Iowa.
Okay. Oh, it's all our fault.
Right.
Well, we have three.
Those darn pigs.
We have 3-2 beer here. I mean, you have to have 20 of them just to feel something.
Oh, is that seriously? Is that what it is?
Yeah, in Minnesota, it's a lot stronger.
Oh, yeah, you were in Minnesota at the time. Okay.
Yeah, I came from a town called Wayzata, but Cedar Rapids, that's where I graduated high school. But then I went back up to Minnesota after that.
So you're saying off-the-shelf beer is more potent up in Minnesota than it is?
More.
Oh, is it?
Much more.
Yeah, Iowa's one of the lowest content of alcohol, 3.2. Yeah. Who's the strongest? Kansas?
Oh, I don't know, but I know Minnesota's up there.
Yeah,
because
Minnesota's 6 point.
But then you can also do malt liquor, which is even stronger.
Yeah.
So we got into that too. So it did progress. But when I got to Iowa, that's when the shots started. That's what really that's the mind eraser.
And when everybody thinks about shots, you think about a bunch of people sitting around at a bar having fun, and everybody pours out the shot glasses and salute.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it's social.
All right, and shots of anything.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, I had my favorites, of course. Jägermeister was a big one, and yeah, it's I like to call it time travel medicine because it just erases
Have you ever
parts
had
of the
Jaeger?
evening.
Oh, yeah, I can't stand it.
Oh,
It's an acquired taste. It's like black licorice.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anthony Damrow is our guest today. It's 102 days in hell, and we're getting to that. So at 25, what happened?
Well, at 25 is when I got my first DUI. Let's see. I want to say I was 25. It was right around there in 2003, and that was in Minnesota.
Okay.
And there were some consequences, but it still was kind of a slap on the wrist. It was, I won't drink and drive again.
And in some circles, it's a badge of honor.
In a way. I mean, I wasn't proud of it ever, but I wasn't ashamed of it either.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I got my first one. It's like, I remember my first one. I mean, those are the people I surrounded myself with.
How many times should you have been arrested for OWI? Every night?
Over 1,000.
Okay.
Man.
You were constantly driving while impaired.
Not only was I driving impaired, I usually had one with me.
Oh. Alcohol with you.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand.
And
I resemble that remark.
The the pregame. You know, I always had 6 before I even went to the bar.
Yeah.
Got to save money.
Yeah, right. Darn you.
Priorities, Mac.
Yeah, all right. So 25, you get an OWI, no big deal. What's the next benchmark? What's the next event that happens?
So I was on probation for 6 months. I did everything I needed to do.
What do you mean probation? What does that mean?
Probation for alcohol.
Meaning that you can't drive?
Oh, I lost my license. Yeah, I lost my license for 6 months. I had to see a probation officer for 6 months.
Okay.
Paid a hefty fine, or I'm sure one of my parents did. And then after 6 months, I think it was maybe 2 weeks after I got OWI number 2.
Again?
Yep.
So you got your license back for 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
You didn't learn your lesson, did you?
Absolutely not.
You didn't have to have a blow and go?
Nope. No,
Okay.
Not in Minnesota at that time.
You know what I mean by blow and
Right.
go.
That's where you blow in a thing to get your car started?
Yeah, I have one now.
Ignition
Do ya?
interlock
And
device.
then what?
Ignition interlock device.
Well, thank you, forensic scientists, for the correct term.
Yes.
So 2 weeks later, you get your second one.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happens?
2 weeks after probation.
Yeah, right.
Then I'm put on probation. Well, actually, that's when I said, hey, it's time to move to Iowa. I mean, I didn't have a job. I lost my girlfriend. I had no money. I literally had nothing because I was drinking everything away.
Okay.
And my mom had moved to Des Moines, and she said, why don't you come here, start a new life? And they transferred my probation to Iowa, and I was able to do it here. And I still didn't do any jail time. I was on house arrest.
Okay.
So did you even associate that the result of this was your drinking?
It's funny. No, because yes, of course. I knew it was the drinking, but for me, it was the drinking and driving. It wasn't the drinking.
So you were just saying,
I didn't have a problem drinking. I had a problem with drinking and driving.
Just stay out of the car. I just need to stay out of the car. Is that what you're telling yourself?
Just get my car out of the way, and I'd be fine.
Right.
Mike, I got my second OWI in 2003. And when I got my license back, I swore I'd never drink and drive, and I never did. But remember, it took me another 7 years to quit drinking.
Right. Yeah.
But I never drank.
Right.
In fact, if you look at Macism 21, it's do not drink and drive.
Right.
Yeah.
So I understand
Right.
that. I was
Right.
never going to
Right.
drink and drive again.
Right.
I looked at that last night because you gave us a couple cards, and
Yeah.
I saw that, and I was a little confused by that one because, if you ask people who are in the program, it's not do not drink and drive. It's do not drink.
Yeah, right. Well, it's an old Macism.
But again,
Right.
that's for us.
Yeah. All right. So you moved to Iowa. You got a license?
Eventually, I was on 2 years probation.
Okay.
I got it discharged after 1. What I did was the DMVs weren't linked up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was able to get an Iowa license even though my Minnesota one was suspended.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually driving on a legal license in Iowa. I never,
Okay.
It was just kind of a loophole. By the way, that loophole has been closed.
Yeah. It's called
just
the
gave a bunch of
Anthony rule.
I'm just making sure people understand that.
Oh, I'm going to go to a different state and get a
is
license.
no longer available.
Right.
Now, and for those of you listening, you think, okay, this guy's figured it out. 2 OWIs and all the stuff that goes on. He's got it figured out. He's not going to make this mistake again, right?
Oh, hey, I didn't.
But you did.
For 10 years.
For 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you got a third.
Yeah.
And then you got sent to prison.
I got sent to prison.
And that's the 102 days.
That's the 102 days. Now, I was sentenced to 2 years. Yeah. So I should still be there right now.
Did you hurt anybody when you were driving?
No. It's just a standard.
Wow.
Yeah. I've talked to several people after I was sentenced, and I have yet to hear one person who was sentenced to prison on a third or less.
Wow.
No, there were some in there, but I didn't, nobody in Polk County, that's for sure.
All right. So when we come back, Anthony's going to talk about 102 days in hell, because this is not a criminal. I mean, and you may say, well, yes, he is. Well, but you know what I mean? He's not somebody you'd think would go to prison. He doesn't have that worldview. He doesn't have that criminality in his blood or in his mind or in his actions. But these are the consequences of alcoholism. These are the consequences that our government puts on us, rightfully so, when we abuse alcohol and get behind the wheel. 102 days, and Jesus steps in. We're going to continue with Anthony when we continue. Dr. Mike Hartwig in the house, Bob Montserrat, Anthony Damero, my guest, and I'm Mac. Thanks for listening to RestoringHopeLive.com.
Restoring hope.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our guaranteed success program, Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Learn more now at RestoringHopeLive.com.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
One time a woman said to me that people were asking her why she was saving her money. What was she worried about? I told her to say that she was saving it for the kingdom of Jesus Christ. In Acts 1:8, one of the last things that Jesus ever said to his apostles was, "You will be my witness in Jerusalem and all of Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." God sometimes tells us what we will be doing, even with our financial resources. But sometimes we just need to wait. God will do a great work with what He has blessed us with.
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Make sure your child is up with the alarm and ready for school each morning, because missing just 18 days, even in middle school, will put their graduation at risk. It's up to you. Learn more at boostup.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. There's no easier way to share your faith than by giving someone a free gift, the Word of God in a compact, pocket-sized gospel.
I plan on giving the Gospels out to people I meet. I'll put a few of them out in a truck stop, and they're handy to carry. I can give them to people I come in contact with every day.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us, and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
I have never used these gospels before, but I plan to give them out wherever and whenever I can, at restaurants, when I meet new people, even with family members. Thank you for your service.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Addiction specialists are ready to take your call. Call now, 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758. That's 877-989-5758. Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
Thanks to Matt Baird, who from the band Spoken, who wrote and sang our theme song, Restoring Hope. Matt, I love you. Thanks for doing that for you. It's Holy Week, and this is RestoringHopeLive.com. I'm J. Michael McCoy, your host, and this program is about life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Next week for Easter Sunday, I couldn't think of anything more appropriate than somebody who destroyed their life, not with alcohol, not with drugs, gambling. And this man that we're going to talk to, Ken is his name, had the world by the tail, had a great family, great marriage, wonderful job, and threw it all away through gambling. And it's going to be a great show. And that'll be next week for Easter Sunday here live on RestoringHopeLive.com on XM Sirius, Channel 131, and also the American Family Radio Network. By the way, I don't know if I shared with you. I don't think I've shared with you. We got renewed on XM Sirius.
Really? They picked us up again?
They picked us up again.
Have they listened to the show?
No, I wouldn't let them. They kept asking for copies, and I said, yeah, I'll get you one. I'll email it to you.
Okay, we'll renew it.
Yeah. If you want to listen to the old shows, we now have about 50 of them on tap. You can go to RestoringHopeLive.com, and it's not a monetized website. And what I mean by that, it's not going to have a bunch of fly-ins and pop-ins and stuff that's trying to sell you. There's a bio on Mike. There's a bio on me. There's a bio on Bob and all the previous shows, so you can go back in and listen to them all. And we appreciate XM Sirius as well as American Family Radio picking us up for another year. What a blessing. This ministry is such a blessing for all of us, and we sure appreciate it. All right, we're talking with Anthony, 37 years old, had his second OWI at about 25, 26, 27?
Yep, I was about 25, 26.
All right, and then you went, what'd you say, 10 years?
I went 10 years.
But you were still drinking.
I was still drinking, but I wasn't drinking and driving.
Okay, and now tell me what that means. Because some people say, well, I don't drink and drive. Well, what does that mean? Well, I know my limit and I stop.
No.
And with me, as I think I'm going to hear from you, there was none. It was none.
Right.
I didn't have one. I had none if I got behind the wheel.
Yeah, that's the same as me. There wasn't a time where I had a couple drinks and drove. I literally did not bring my car. I rode with friends. And if I did bring my car, I would leave it there for the night, take a cab, get a ride home with a friend.
But the drinking continued.
The drinking continued.
Now, you told me earlier you were a daily drinker. At some point, did you quit drinking daily and become a binge drinker?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
So you're pretty proud of yourself. I don't drink every day anymore. I must not be an alcoholic.
Yeah, I had myself convinced that I do have a touch of insomnia. That as long as I had a six-pack, that would put me to sleep. That's why I was drinking. That's fine.
Okay.
And so when I moved here, I moved in with my mom and my brother, who's also an addict, and it was nobody's gonna drink, nobody's gonna do anything here, and so it kind of helped me to stop that habit of drinking every night. But I'd still go out and have a few. I love that. Have a ton with friends.
Yeah. So would you classify yourself in the last few years as a binge drinker?
Yes.
Okay.
How much were you spending a night on alcohol, would you say?
Oh, man.
How much would you go on?
Between $40 and $75.
So $40 a night, $75 a night.
Yeah.
And then how many nights a week?
2 to 3.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I never had money for car payments or rent.
Yeah.
I added up one time how much I drank, and it was over $100,000 in 16 years.
Wow.
Yep.
I did that in prison.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much?
I came up under, but I did a really conservative estimate, but it was right around the $50,000-$60,000 mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I was over $100,000.
Wow.
Isn't that stupid? What could you do with that money?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The third OWI.
Yeah.
Set it up. Tell me what happened.
Well, it was a Wednesday night. Because Wednesday is a big party night.
Mm-hmm.
I had already told my friends that I thought I had a problem, and I was going to AA. I'm sorry, I was going to a 12-step program.
Yeah.
But not often. I was not going often, and I wasn't really taking it seriously. I think I was kind of just doing it to see what was out there, and so. My friends were to the point where they're like, well, yeah, I mean, if you think you got a problem, you probably do. We don't want to encourage you to drink. So I started going out by myself. And, in hopes of meeting. I mean, I can't imagine a more lonely existence as somebody who goes out on a Wednesday night just hoping to meet anybody who's going to make them feel good about themselves, and that's what I was doing.
Now, were you working at the time?
I was.
Okay.
I was. I've worked consistently since the day I moved here until the day of my arrest.
And the drinking didn't impact your working?
I can't say that.
Okay.
It did. I was late many times. I got warnings. I always blamed it on something else. I was sick. Somebody died. I think I ran out of grandparents. So it definitely
Get
affected
up in the morning, look at the obituaries. And
Yeah.
Today Bob died.
Yeah. No, and I can laugh about it now, but man, when I called in that first time and I said that my grandfather died and I knew I was lying about it, it tore me up.
Yep.
It was just, wow.
Our secrets keep us sick.
Wow. How you just killed off one of your grandparents who you love.
Yeah. All right. So tell me about the night of the OWI.
Well, I was drinking. I went to 3 different places, and actually, if I'm being honest, it wasn't one of my binge nights. It really wasn't. It was actually one of my more tame evenings.
Okay.
I probably had between 6 and 8 beers. The problem was I also suffer from anxiety, and I had just been given a new medication for anxiety called Xanax.
Mm-hmm.
Xanax is something you are not supposed to drink on.
Mm-hmm.
Not one, not any.
None.
So it definitely increased the effects of the alcohol. Now, had I blown into a breathalyzer, I don't know. Maybe I was over, maybe I wasn't. I'm sure I was. It doesn't matter. I was driving intoxicated.
Okay. And so in jail that night?
That night, I actually was booked into the West Des Moines police station. They did not book me into the Polk County Jail that evening.
So you got out.
I got out.
And long story short, you went before a judge, and he sentenced you to 2 years in prison.
That's correct. It was a she.
Sorry.
I had gone through 2 lawyers. My first lawyer had told me that, I was probably going to do 30 days and that I'd have to go to the fort after that.
Right.
Fort Des Moines is where they take a lot of the OWI.
Right.
And I said, no, I can't do that. I have a job. I have a house. I have a car. I got payments to make. I can't turn my life upside down just for this little
So you switched
problem.
lawyers.
So I switched lawyers. It makes sense,
I'm not the problem.
Yeah,
You are.
Right. That's what I was just thinking.
Well, and come to find out that this guy got, the first guy got me the sweetheart of a deal, and the next guy got me the absolute worst case scenario.
Were you surprised when the judge said 2 years?
Absolutely. I would have been surprised if she said 30 days.
Okay.
Because I was convinced that I was going to go on a scram bracelet and maybe have to go to the fort, or I was prepared to do 30 days.
Okay.
I'll take a leave of absence from work. I'll come back, and I'll get my life back on track. So when she said 2 years, I don't even think it even registered in my mind because it had been dropped to a second. That was the plea deal. And on a second, you usually get 7 days. You can get up to 2 years if there's mitigating circumstances.
All right. So you went to prison.
Yep.
And tell me about that experience. You said 102 days in hell. Well, yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it was hell. Especially given the fact that I was suffering from agoraphobia at the time. I hadn't left the house.
Agoraphobia is?
Agoraphobia is the fear of leaving kind of your safe zone, if you will.
How did it present itself?
I've had anxiety and panic attacks since I was young.
So what does that mean? You just pass out? You freak out? Your eyes get big and
usually it's
fall
when I'm
over
driving.
like a goat?
No, I don't. No, not like a goat at all. But thanks for the comparison.
Have you seen those fainting goats?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
But
no. When you go out in public?
Yeah. So when I get out of my comfort zone and it just gets worse. Basically, your comfort zone gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't even leave your home without being in some sort of duress. So that's why the alcohol increased and the medication and everything else.
All right. So you walk into prison. We've all seen it on TV. Is it like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People yelling and screaming and trying to scare you and intimidate you.
The first place I went was the Polk County Jail.
Okay.
And that's where you haven't been classified yet. So you're in with everybody.
Okay.
I was in with people who took people's lives. I was in with people just like me who had a drug or alcohol problem. but I was definitely a fish out of water. That's for sure.
And then they transferred you to a full...
You go to the IMCC, which is the Iowa Medical Classification Center.
Okay.
That's where they classify you. They see what kind of risk you are, if you're violent history, things like that. You usually stay there about 30 to 60 days, depending on how busy they are.
All right. And then where'd you go?
And that's when they they told me I'd be going to Newton because it's close to Des Moines, but no, that wasn't the case. I went to Clarinda. It's about as far from Des Moines as you can get.
And tell me about the prison experience. I mean,
you
is
have
it
a
just
roommate?
like we see on TV?
I had lots of roommates.
Guys just
yeah, I mean,
reassign you to different places?
you were constantly switching bunks, first of all. So, but yeah, you shared it usually with 5 people. There'd be 6 to a cell, and they're not so much cells like you see on TV where they close the bars behind you. Most of the ones that I was in were lower level, and everything's kind of open. But no, I mean, yeah, you get to know people really well.
Any scary moments?
Tons of scary moments. I mean, there was a guy who definitely wanted to fight, and he wasn't going to let it go, and I almost had to. And I've never punched anybody in my life.
Yeah,
I don't.
Did he stalk you?
No, he just berated me. He just kept on me.
Was this someone that lived in your pod, or?
Yeah, he was in my pod.
Ew.
Yeah, and he just wasn't a happy person, and he was looking at a lot more time than I was, and I made the mistake of telling people how much time I have, and when they find out that you have, a little time and they got a lot, they don't like that.
Because you thought you had 2 years.
I thought I was going to do 2 years. Well, they cut it in half as soon as you get to IMCC, so I was going to do 1.
All right, you're going to do 1. I know this is a delicate question, but everybody always talks about sexual abuse inside of prison. Did you suffer from that or experience any of that?
I never saw anything even close to that.
Okay.
There are homosexuals there.
Okay. But how did God work on you while you were in prison?
Oh, that's simple.
Well, let me back up. How would you describe your faith prior to going to prison?
Lukewarm.
Okay.
Lukewarm. I believed in God. I'd been angry at God for a long time.
Why?
Let me put this in quotes for those who can't see me. He took my father at a young age, and it was when it first happened. It was
and
kind of.
What do you mean by that? And in quotes, that's what you thought.
That's what I thought.
Now you don't think that.
I don't think that.
Right.
No.
Took meaning
he took him.
He died.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
My dad died at. He was 59, turned 60 in a coma, and died a couple days after that.
Have a heart attack or something? Or?
No, he actually was an accident. He fell down the stairs at his own home.
So how old were you at that point?
Pushed him. If we really look at it.
What's that?
I think your mother pushed him down the stairs.
She wasn't married to him at the time.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
I'm friends with his mom. So
she's in this room.
Yeah. Ouch! She just hit me. All right. So you're mad at God. You really don't have a relationship with him. They say there's no atheists in prison, though.
Oh my gosh! I've never seen so many tattoos of hands folded together like they're praying, and rosaries, and Mary, Mother Mary, and everyone's got a Bible and they're preaching the word, but then they're fighting someone the next day over their cornbread. So I mean, it's a very strange place, but I can see why so many find God there, and I didn't want to get involved in that whole thing. I think they call it prison faith.
Okay.
Where you only have faith when you're in prison. As soon as you get out, you leave it at the door.
Okay.
So I read all these religious books, that were there, and some great ones. More Than a Carpenter was unbelievable. I'm Gonna Bury You. You should read that one, Mac.
Really?
Oh my goodness!
Okay.
It just, and then I read all these ones that were explaining the Bible to me the way they interpreted it, and I didn't like their interpretations.
Now, if I recall, didn't I give you a Bible and they wouldn't let you bring it in? No, that wasn't you. That was somebody else.
That might have been.
Yeah, that was somebody else.
Yeah.
All right. So
did you get along with the chaplains and things like that?
I talked to the chaplain for a long time, and because I wrote down a whole bunch of questions. But I didn't want to just hit him up, with one question here, one question there. Right. And so, but what I realized was, here I am reading all these interpretations of the Bible, and there's 100 Bibles.
Yeah.
So I grabbed one and started reading it and went, whoa. I can make my own interpretation. I can actually think for myself. So why am I spending so much time reading everybody else's opinion? And it was interesting, once I started reading it for myself, because everyone has an opinion on everything, and I really couldn't call myself a Christian when I hadn't even cracked open a Bible.
Okay, wow. But you did call yourself a Christian.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If people,
so was there a time when you gave your life to Christ? You said, "Hey, I'm screwed up, and I want to give my life."
We were evangelical, so we did it at a young age. There has not been a moment where I actually got on my knees or I was rebaptized or born again. That may still happen. I feel the change has been made. So,
but you feel like you're living for Christ.
I think I'm on my way there. I can't say that I'm perfect. I'm doing everything right.
There's a victim, or I mean a potential Baptist right here. Go for it.
I think the question is do you feel at this point right now that you're living for Jesus Christ, or are you living for Anthony?
No. I don't live for Anthony anymore. That got me in.
So what's your organizing principle? What do you live your life for?
I just want to do. That's a hard question. I don't know. Somewhere in the middle, because I have to be my biggest supporter too. God's going to help, but he's not going to do it all for you. Well, that's how I feel.
It's your stage. Go.
See, and I would disagree with that. I would think that the only way that you're going to ever have permanent sobriety is if you give your life to Jesus Christ. You say, it's not mine anymore. I give it all over to you. Help me, empower me through your Holy Spirit to live the life that you've called me to.
Now, I've given that to him. So those things when you got to understand, when I got into prison, the weight of my shoulders just fell.
Right.
I mean, it just fell.
Right.
And it was, wow. Because I was hanging on by a thread at my job, financially, you name it. I was hanging on. And I lost everything.
Right.
And so when I say God's not going to do it for you, what I mean is you can't sit on your couch and hope that somebody's going to knock on your door and give you a job.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't dispute that, but I think the heart of the issue is and I go back to this, is what are you trying to live your life on? What are you building your life on? If it's anything but Jesus Christ, then it's doomed for failure, in my estimation. And that's what the Bible talks about too, is Jesus Christ said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And that whole concept there is that you give your life over to Christ, and that becomes your organizing principle. I do dispute what I argue with, in my own mind, with Mac when he says the only place that salvation comes before sobriety is in the Scripture, because I do think that a person can be a drunk and still be on their way to heaven. They can be saved.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
So salvation can come before sobriety, and there are plenty of people, and that's what I think my mission is to try to live my life for Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And the process, I think, as clearly outlined in the Scriptures, is that you admit you're a sinner. You've blown it. And man, for an alcoholic, that's really easy. Everybody recognizes that they've blown it. And
it took me actually maybe 30 meetings before I could admit it.
Right.
I didn't think I was bad enough to be classified as an alcoholic.
Right.
And people would ask me, I think, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, they finally one day, I think it was 30 or 40 days in, and they said, so are you an alcoholic? And I said, well, all signs point to yes.
See, and that's a problem. A lot of people can't ever admit that they've screwed up. They can't. They just hold on to it. It's not me. It's them. It's everybody else in the world. It's a problem. It's not me.
Well, and it's also you're comparing yourself to the people around you, not people you don't know.
The Bible talks about how the comparison is Jesus Christ. You compare your life to him. Everybody's sinned. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Everybody. And even the best pastor in the world has, the Pope, everybody has fallen and come short of the glory of God.
Yeah.
And then the second point then is that believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the only way that you can ever have hope in this life, is if you give your life over to Jesus Christ. He is the path out of that.
Right.
And then the third step is that you confess that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and that you don't live for yourself anymore. You try to give your life over to Him. So the organizing principle is not how do I get alcohol or how do I what do I do? It's more of, okay, God, what do you want me to do today? So when Mac throws out, I was mugged by God,
Jesus,
he's saying, when he says that, he's saying, well, God, or Jesus, what do you want me to do today?
Okay. Yeah, I get up every morning and I say, God, reveal yourself to me today, and then tell me what you want me to do with it.
Right.
And this is where Mike and I are in step perfectly. I have given my life to Jesus.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's almost like nothing else matters. But God makes other things matter. He rises the things to the top that He wants me to care about.
Well, here, let me try to explain the way that I have changed from before and after. And this may answer your question in an indirect way because I'm not sure exactly how to answer. I used to get so upset over things that didn't go my way, things that didn't happen the way I wanted them to. Now I realize that when they don't happen, there's probably a reason, that it could end up with something better, if that makes any sense. That 102 days in hell was the best thing that ever happened.
Oh, yeah. See, and the way I read this is that God's working in your life amazingly. You're to the point, you're getting real close to the point where you're saying, you know what? I throw my hands up even completely. Because here's what happens a lot of times with alcoholics is they get to the point, they realize that they screwed up, they realize it's a problem, all kinds of, and then they start trying to figure it out by themselves.
Right.
They start doing it, and they get really, really close. And then they get in this mode where they're doing it, they're off the bottle, they brag about how long they haven't taken a drink and all that, and they're really, now the motivation is sobriety.
Right.
And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the next step, and this is the benchmark, this is the point between salvation and damnation. And that is, if you cross the line, you give your life over to Jesus Christ, not only do you pick up sobriety, but then you get eternal life. And that's what this show is all about. It's about giving your life over to Jesus Christ. Right. And there's a whole process, the Holy Spirit in there working and giving your life and leading people, getting you arrested and throwing you in jail and even to the point of losing your dad. That's all part of God's plan, and I don't understand it all, never will attempt to, but I know that God works in the hearts of men. He's working in your life, and that He's coming to you and saying, you know, are you going to give your life over to me, or are you going to try it on your own? I can guarantee you, if you try it on your own, it's going to be, at the very best, it's going to be frustrating and a daily battle. Yeah. At the very best, I mean, in an ideal world, is you give your life over to Jesus Christ, you get the sobriety, you get the joy that passes all understanding, and you get eternity with your heavenly Creator. And that's what it's all about.
Where do we find your blog?
Actually, it's a friend of mine's blog. Her name is Carly Benson, and it's miraclesarebrewing.com.
Miraclesarebrewing.com.
Correct.
Thanks for sharing your story today, Anthony. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
This is the last time I'll be able to say this on the show. I didn't give up anything for Lent. I decided to give something for Lent. And the present I give is a challenge to you, to think of that person that you hate, to think of that person you have a resentment against, to think of that person who you can't stand. You would cross the street rather than bump into them. And this week, the holiest week of all, forgive them and pray. See you next week.